Hi, I'm Robert Wilkie. I've been privileged to be part of the VA family now for over 2.5 years. And family is the operative word. Last week, I was in a part of the country where my father grew up, in western Louisiana, a place devastated by hurricanes that came at them one right after another. I watched our VA family cope not only with their mission, helping veterans, but cope with the individual disasters that plague them in their own homes. I saw trees that had crushed houses, cars that were no longer recognizable. The day before that I visited our VA facility in Lake Charles, a typical Louisiana thunderstorm had rolled through and flooded the tents that had been put up to serve our veterans. By the time I arrived early that morning, the water had already been cleared out, the people were at their stations, and veterans were being served. That is the spirit of this VA, a VA that has undergone a renaissance like no other period in its history in the last few years, and that's why we call ourselves a family. Coping with crisis and emergency situations is nothing new to VA. We trace our birth back to the Civil War when an exhausted Abraham Lincoln called on America to care for everyone who took up arms in that bloody conflict. VA evolved in leaps and bounds when World War II called for a nationwide system to care for the men and women who liberated Europe and the Pacific. In 2020, America faced a very different kind of crisis in the form of COVID-19, and it became VA's responsibility once more to see our veterans through it. Many would agree that VA probably wasn't up to this task just a few short years ago, after VA leaders were caught misrepresenting veterans' access to health care. Morale within VA was low, and polls showed most veterans didn't think very much of a bureaucracy that was failing them. 6 years ago, a CNN poll showed that just 37% of our veterans approved of VA's performance. But over the last few years, VA was reborn. Today, our approval rating stands at 90% for health care. And among our fastest growing population women, we have an 86% approval rating. Morale has soared. From 2014 to 2016, VA was near the bottom of federal agencies in a survey of best places to work. Now, VA is 6th, and we expect to be 5th when the new numbers come out in March. We did it by listening to our employees, the VA family, and the veterans we serve. I visited every state in the Union and almost every territory to talk to veterans. Veterans had been demanding options outside of VA for years, and we delivered real permanent choice to them through the Mission Act. Now, millions of veterans are getting care right in their communities and are finally at the center of their own health care decisions. Giving veterans choice didn't mean the end of us. Instead, we made VA more accountable and empowered VA staff to once more live up to the legacy of this department, and they rose to the occasion. Recent studies show VA measures up to the private sector on access and quality. Veterans liked what they saw and started voting with their feet. We completed a record number of appointments in fiscal year 2019, 59 million, the same year that the Mission Act took effect. The more veterans we serve, the more veterans trusted us. Trust in VA care hit a record high in April of 2020. VA achieved what all the experts in Washington said was impossible by rolling out a modernized health record that will make it easier than ever for health professionals to access veterans' medical histories. No longer will veterans have to lug boxes of paper records around, as my father did after serving in Vietnam. We turned VA into a more welcoming place for women. VA now provides a full range of services for women veterans and has a military sexual trauma coordinator at each of our medical centers. We put staff, patients, and visitors on notice that we have a zero-tolerance policy for sexual assault and harassment. Our ongoing campaign, aimed at preventing these incidents, is just one way of making a difference. Another is the growing number of women we have in leadership roles who oversee our employees, 63% of whom are women. VA has tackled some of the most chronic problems facing veterans with renewed energy. We're working with states to reduce veterans' use of harmful opioids, which fell 48% over the last few years. We're working with local governments and companies to end veterans' homelessness. And VA is leading the effort not only to end veterans' suicide, but to begin a nationwide dialogue to prevent this tragedy amongst all Americans. By the time COVID-19 hit, VA was a different organization than the one you read about just a few short years ago. We were ready for the mission. While the virus was a serious threat to many non-VA nursing homes, VA's early actions to protect its most vulnerable patients resulted in far fewer infections at the homes we managed. We also used telehealth to keep in touch with patients at a time of great social distancing. VA's performance during the crisis was so strong that 1,000 VA staff members deployed on more than 3,700 missions to assist non-VA health networks, including those that serve Native Americans. VA has tested more than 1.3 million people for the virus and treated more than 125,000 veterans. As of January 4th, 2021, VA had administered more than 146,000 initial vaccine doses to veterans and healthcare employees just a few weeks after it became available. Before 2016, VA was falling short of Mr. Lincoln's promise. Today, thanks to thousands of dedicated employees across the nation, VA has undergone the most transformational change since the end of World War II and emerged from that process with renewed strength. As a result, VA is now closer than ever to fulfilling the vision Abraham Lincoln laid out in his second inaugural address, the American men and women who wear the uniform. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do for our nation. Thank you for everything you do for those who carry the burden of liberty.